SCP-002 looks like someone tried to build a studio apartment out of salami. It's this squishy, veiny mass of organic tissue, about the size of a small shipping container. On the outside, it's gross. On the inside, worse. Through an iron hatch, there's what appears to be a perfectly normal low-budget apartment. Window, furniture, rugs, even a beanbag chair. Cute, right? Except every single item in that room is made out of human body parts. Here's the problem. Every time someone enters this thing and doesn't come out, new furniture appears. Like, oh hey, a new recliner. Yeah, that's Steve. He went in 10 minutes ago. It doesn't react to animals. Or dead bodies. It only responds to living people. And by respond, we mean it eats them, and then rearranges their DNA into new furniture. So, if you go missing near this thing, chances are you're coming back as a coat rack or a bookshelf. It fell from orbit and crash-landed in Portugal, which is definitely not where you'd expect to find a space flesh apartment. A farmer found it. He called his local elder. They called the SCP Foundation. The foundation showed up, lost a few people to spontaneous furniture conversion, and promptly nuked the entire village's memory. Or, the villagers themselves. Containment is manageable, barely. Keep it plugged in at all times or it starts getting hungry. Anyone approaching it needs to do so in pairs, constantly confirming that yes, the other person is still a person and not a lamp. SCP-015-IT. Right. So you know that thing under your bed you were scared of as a kid? Turns out that wasn't just your imagination. It was Italian. SCP-015-IT is what happens when the classic Boogeyman gets dumped in a vat of black paint, sprinkled with Catholic guilt, and dropped off somewhere outside Naples. You could basically describe him as tall, dark, and handsome, something girls seem to go crazy for. It's just under 2 meters tall with zero hair. His skin is so dark it absorbs 98% of light. And he has a forked tongue that works like a double-barreled needle, straight to your adrenal gland. In other words, it eats fear, literally. It doesn't speak, scream, or monologue. It just watches, stalks you at night, waits until you're distracted, then bites you in the side, pumps you full of knockout juice, and slurps up your stress like a cold espresso. You don't die, usually. It just wants a hit of your fight or flight hormones and maybe a nap afterward. But here's the twist. According to a priest named Father Ilardi, this thing might have once been human. A soul corrupted and possibly cursed. Ilardi managed to calm it and even earned some weird affection from it. The screams would stop when he spoke gently. It wasn't scared of holy symbols. It just hated uniforms, especially ones from the Holy Order. Maybe bad past experiences with crusades. Who knows? Containment is manageable, and as long as nobody does anything dumb. It's locked up at Site Victoria in a secure cell built like a panic room, minus the panic. You want to feed it fear? Fine. Just don't bring spaghetti unless you're ready for some really weird vibes. SCP-4975. You'll hear it before you see it. A quiet clicking noise, like someone tapping a pen forever. It's the kind of sound that drives people with misophonia straight into therapy. And for good reason, because once you hear that ticking and realize it's following you, yeah, you've got a problem. SCP-4975 is what happens when a grandfather clock, a horror story, and a flamingo from the dark web get fused in a German forest. It's tall, thin, vaguely human, covered in thick, leathery skin and has a long beak that doesn't open, which is somehow more unnerving than if it did. Its limbs end in weird, fingerless stumps, but don't let that fool you. It kills just fine. Its most charming feature? The neck. Doesn't walk around like a normal creature. It constantly rotates its neck bones, one vertebra at a time in a looping click, click, click that sounds like a metronome someone set to panic. It only stops cracking when it's about to attack. So if the clicking suddenly goes quiet, run. Or, just stand there and accept your fate. It stalks its targets for months, sometimes close to a year, before finally striking. You don't know it's chosen you, but you'll start hearing that rhythmic cracking wherever you go. When it's ready, it appears out of nowhere, tears you apart with those blunt limbs, and eats you. Containment is simple. Just a locked steel room and zero human interaction. But somehow it still feeds. Surveillance has shown it can attack victims remotely while physically inside its cell. So either it's cheating, or time and space don't apply when you're this committed to the bit. SCP-439. If you've ever looked at your skeleton and thought, this could double as real estate, SCP-439 agrees. These things look like tiny gray earwigs, harmless at first glance. But give them a sleeping human and about 5 minutes of unsupervised access, and suddenly you're on the market as a bone-based condo. The queen enters through the mouth while you're asleep, settles in your lungs, and gets to work. Step 1. Hijack your body's biology to trigger rapid onset bone growth, medically known as fiber dysplasia ossificans progressiva. But let's just call it bone apocalypse. In about 3 days, you're locked in place, immobile, and quietly screaming on the inside. Your bones are bent into a neat little ball, and congratulations, you're now a hive. Your spine, hallway, ribs, restaurant, internal organs, live festival. And yes, you're still alive for all of it. Roughly 30,000 bugs later, a new queen hatches, the colony commits mass suicide, and the next host hunt begins. Victims usually die of starvation, because apparently having your bones turned into insect architecture isn't enough. Containment involves sealed oxygenated tanks, steel, and denial. If you see one in the wild, don't blink, don't breathe, definitely don't fall asleep. Your skeleton already pays enough rent. SCP-504. SCP-504 is a tomato with taste, not the culinary kind, the comedic kind. And that taste is aggressively violent. Make a bad joke near one of these things, and it will fire itself at your face like it's personally offended you exist. Physically, it looks like any regular tomato. Genetically, it is a regular tomato. The difference is that this one turns into a ballistic missile the second someone within earshot tells a pun. Language doesn't matter. Quality definitely does. The worse the joke, the faster it flies. We're talking from mild concussion to broke the sound barrier and vaporized a laptop. Discovered in Kentucky after a farmer was allegedly murdered by his lunch, which fair. The Foundation quickly moved in to quarantine the angry produce. Now, all SCP-504 tomatoes are kept in soundproof rooms, and anyone working near them wears special radio-enabled masks, so the tomatoes can't hear their existential crisis jokes during lunch. Containment is simple. Just don't be funny. Or at least, don't be bad funny. The tomatoes don't care if your joke is offensive or edgy. They care if it's cringe. And if it is, they will launch. Even at pre-recorded stand-up. Even at Monty Python. Even once at a pun about imaginary numbers, which caused a tomato to reach over 2,000 miles per hour and obliterate a computer. Moral of the story. If you're not funny, keep it to yourself. Or bring a helmet. SCP-035. SCP-035 is a porcelain comedy mask that switches to tragedy when it's feeling dramatic. It really, really wants you to put it on. And it's not above using charm, manipulation, or good old-fashioned psychic influence to make that happen. Once you wear it, you're done. It hijacks your body, digs through your memories, and turns your brain into day-old lasagna. Then it uses your voice, your face, your everything to keep the act going. Think Jim Carrey in The Mask, except instead of cartoon antics and a big yellow suit, it's mind control and a pool of acidic goo where your soul used to be. It talks, a lot. It flatters, schemes, plays mind games, and will convince you that it's your best friend right before it turns your brain into soup. The black ooze it leaks corrodes anything, walls, cameras, people, and its containment room has been upgraded more times than Windows. Even with no host, it can influence thoughts, shatter electronics, and make researchers bleed from the eyes while reciting Latin. So that's fun. Containment is barely manageable. It's kept in a glass case because its goo eats through literally everything else. Personnel near it are rotated often and heavily screened for signs of emotional breakdown or sudden Shakespearean monologues. Oh, and it's currently on a permanent no-host policy, which it doesn't like, at all. But after a few insurrections, suicides, and mass psychological breakdowns, the Foundation decided it can sit in its cursed box and sulk. SCP-4885. You might remember him as Waldo, the fun little guy you used to find in books as a kid. Red and white stripes, bobble hat, never where you expect him. Expect now he's a skinless dimensional throat crawler, with no eyes and a grudge against anyone who dares to know where he is. If you figure out his exact location, not somewhere in Europe, but third floor break room, left cabinet behind the coffee machine, cheers. You just scheduled your own internal organ rearrangement. If you're far away, he'll teleport inside your body. Then he reaches out of your mouth, grabs your jaw, and drags himself through your entire body, like he's doing a home renovation. You die, obviously, and then your corpse turns into a Where's Waldo picture book. Containment is, let's call it, elaborate. The Foundation has a whole shell game system of trucks, storage boxes, AI surveillance, and decoy locations just to make sure nobody ever knows where he is. Because the second someone does, the whole meat process starts again. So if someone asks you, "Where's Waldo?" don't answer. The less you know, the longer you live. Because Waldo doesn't want to be found anymore. He wants revenge. SCP-001. The Scarlet King is not just the biggest bad guy in the SCP Foundation. He's the bad guy. An ancient, reality-breaking god who basically represents everything cruel, violent, and terrifying about humanity. He hates science, loathes technology, and wants to rewind the universe back to a time when blood sacrifice was just part of the daily routine. Worshipped by a cult called the Children of the Scarlet King, this guy isn't just powerful. He's a walking apocalypse with a crown. His followers believe he should rule the world again, and their plan is simple. Summon him into our reality and let him smash everything modern so we can all enjoy a fresh new dark age. The Scarlet King doesn't have one form. He changes constantly, sometimes a demon, sometimes a god, sometimes a cosmic toddler soaked in blood. He's fought and conquered other gods, including one named Sana, who he forcibly married. Yes, it's as awful as it sounds. Together, they had 7 daughters, each destined to give birth to powerful creatures. So far, 6 of them have delivered. When the 7th does, game over. That's when the king himself arrives. Containment is just a very elaborate way of saying, please don't wake up. A nightmare baked into the collective human consciousness. The best the Foundation can do is delay him. They run horrific rituals to keep the 7th bride from giving birth. They suppress his cults, they erase knowledge, and they pray. A lot. That concludes the list, folks. Hope you enjoyed this vid and see you in the next one.